The lonely man and the strange signal. For 20 long years, Mark Varren had been alone. Not the few friends kind of alone. The real kind, where the nearest human was 4 light years away, and your best conversation was with the coffee machine. And the coffee machine wasn't even polite. Mark lived on Delta 9, a forgotten mining outpost on the edge of human space. Once it had been full of workers, engineers, families. But when the mines dried up, everyone left. Everyone except him. People used to ask why he stayed. Mark would shrug and say, cheaper rent. But the truth was, he didn't know. Maybe leaving felt harder than staying. Maybe after a while, the silence became normal. The days were all the same. Wake up. Fix something that didn't need fixing. Eat rehydrated food. Drink terrible coffee. Sleep. Repeat. He had a calendar, but stopped crossing the days. Every day. Felt like a copy of the last dot. It was on one of those copy days that it happened. Mark was sitting in the comms room, half asleep, watching meaningless data scroll past. The long-range comm system was ancient. It mostly picked up static and space junk signals. He'd stopped paying attention to it years ago. Then, in the middle of the static, a voice broke through. It was soft at first, faint, almost like he imagined it, but his eyes shot open. You know what to do, human. Mark froze. The voice was female, warm, urgent, and human. That couldn't be right. He leaned forward, hitting the replay. The old speakers hissed and crackled, but the voice came again, clearer this time. You know what to do, human? Mark's heart pounded in his chest. He checked the system. The signal was coming from far, far beyond the mapped edge of space, past where any human ship had gone in decades. He sat back in his chair, staring at the comm panel. For 20 years, no one had spoken to him. Now, out of nowhere, a woman's voice had slipped through the dark, speaking directly to him. It was probably a prank, or a glitch. Or maybe his brain had finally decided to entertain him before it collapsed from boredom. He laughed nervously. Sure, of course. Totally normal. But the laughter didn't last long. His hands were still shaking. The voice didn't come again that night. Mark waited in the comm room for hours, drinking coffee, watching the signal monitors. Nothing. But the next night, at exactly 2:13 station time, the voice returned. You know what to do, human. Same words, same tone, same strange feeling that she wasn't just speaking a message. She was speaking to him. Mark checked the encryption patterns. They were unlike anything he'd seen. The data stream was laced with repeating symbols, some of them not even from human code. Someone or something wanted him to hear this. By the third night, it wasn't curiosity anymore. It was obsession. He started recording the message, running it through every decryption tool he had. No result. He even asked his AI assistant, Corey, for help. Corey's voice was polite but mechanical. Source unknown. Distance. Approximately 11.4 light years beyond mapped human territory. Probability of danger. 89%. 89%, huh? Mark muttered. Yes, Corey replied. And therefore, we should ignore it. Yeah, well, Mark said, leaning back. Loneliness is about 95% dangerous to my sanity. So we're still at a net win. Corey did not laugh. Corey never laughed. For the first time in 2 decades, Mark felt something like purpose. He had no idea what you know what to do meant, because clearly he didn't know what to do. But whoever she was, she wanted him. She needed him. Or she wanted him to walk right into a trap. He couldn't decide which thought was more exciting. The following night, he sat in the comm room again, waiting. 2:12. Silence. 2:13. The speakers hissed. You know what to do, human. He swore the voice was sharper now, more urgent. Like the clock was ticking. Mark exhaled slowly. All right, mystery lady, let's see where you are. For hours. He plotted the origin of the signal, cross-referencing it with old star maps. The location was deep space, no planets, no stations, just a faint, drifting object. His scanners picked up no details, just a faint echo. But it was enough for a course. He leaned back in his chair, looking at the dusty walls of Delta 9. 20 years of this place. 20 years of silence. 20 years of nothing. He thought about staying, about ignoring it. But even as he thought it, he knew he wouldn't. Danger or not, the voice had already pulled him in. The decision wasn't loud. There was no dramatic music. He just stood up, walked to the docking bay, and looked at his old freighter, the Wren. She was rusty, slow, and handled like a drunken elephant, but she was all he had. Mark started loading supplies, food packs, tools, and more coffee than a human should drink in a lifetime. Corey tried one more time to change his mind. This course will take you beyond safe space, Corey said. Yeah, Mark replied. That's kind of the point. He looked at a navigation screen. 11.4 light years. 2 weeks in hyperspace. Mark smiled for the first time in years. Well, here's to bad ideas. As the Wren's engines roared to life and the stars stretched into streaks, the static of the comms faded. But in the back of his mind, Mark could still hear her voice. You know what to do, human. Asterisk, the decision to leave Mark didn't sleep that night. He tried. He lay in bed, staring at the cracked ceiling of his quarters on Delta 9, listening to the slow hum of the life support system. But every time he closed his eyes, he heard her voice again. You know what to do, human. It wasn't just the words anymore. There was something underneath them, a tremor in her tone, like fear wrapped in steel. Like someone giving instructions while a knife was at their throat. By morning, Mark's head felt like it was full of sand. He shuffled to the galley for coffee and found Corey's hologram waiting for him, arms folded in that perfect, I'm an AI and I told you so posture. You spent 6 hours scanning that signal, Corey said. Do you want my medical assessment? Nope. You're doing it anyway, Corey continued. You are agitated, sleep-deprived, and possibly obsessed. Mark took a long sip of coffee. Sounds like a Tuesday. But when he returned to the comms room, something had changed. The message was still there, but the background static was different, deeper, almost like there were other voices whispering just beneath hers. Mark amplified the audio. The whispers grew louder, broken, words in a language he didn't know. And then a sound like a heartbeat, not human, not machine. Something else. He shut it off. He didn't like the way it made the room feel smaller. Corey broke the silence. I have been monitoring your vitals, the AI said. Your pulse spikes every time the message plays. This is a danger response. Or adrenaline, Mark countered. Maybe I like it. You are forgetting the probability of danger. 89%. Yeah, and you're forgetting the other 11. Mark knew what he was about to do was stupid. But something inside him, something that had been dead for 2 decades, was wide awake now. Who was she? Why him? And why now? He pulled up the star charts, overlaying the signal's origin. No colonies, no stations. No recorded planets, just empty, dead space. Except for one faint object, a drifting mass, too big to be debris, too small to be a planet. And here was the real problem. That mass wasn't stationary. It was moving, slowly, deliberately, closer to human space. Corey, Mark said quietly, how long before that object crosses into mapped territory? Corey processed for 2 seconds. 17 days. Mark stared at the numbers. His chest tightened. 17 days until what? Until she got here? Until they got here. The rest happened in a blur. Mark sealed Delta 9 systems on auto maintenance, transferred all his stored credits into ship fuel, and began prepping the Wren. Every step felt heavier than it should. Like the air around him knew. He was about to break a 20-year rule. Leaving the outpost meant cutting off every safety line. Once he was out there, no one would come to help him. But then again, no one ever had Dot as he worked. The voice came again over the comms. This time, it wasn't just the same line. It was longer, sharper. You know what to do, human. They are almost here. Mark froze. He didn't need Corey to tell him that was bad news, Dot. By the time the last cargo crate was secured, Mark felt the rush of adrenaline that only comes before a bad idea you can't take back. He climbed into the Wren's cockpit, running his hands over the old, cracked controls. The ship smelled like dust, oil, and possibility. Corey's voice came over the intercom. Final check. Once we jump, there will be no turning back. Mark smirked. We've been back for 20 years. Let's try forward for a change. The engines rumbled awake, shaking the docking bay. A hum grew into a deep roar as Mark fed more power into the jump coils. Outside the viewport, the dark stretch of space lay like an endless road with no streetlights. He took one last look at Delta 9, the rusted buildings, the silent landing pads, the home that had never really been home. Dot. Then he punched the jump. Stars warped into streaks. Space folded around them. The sound of the jump drive was like a storm trapped inside a tin can. And just before the stars vanished completely, the comms lit up one last time with her voice. Hurry. Asterisk the ghost ship in the dark 2 weeks in. Hyperspace is a long time when you have nothing but an AI, a coffee maker, and your own thoughts. Mark had spent most of it replaying her voice in his head. You know what to do, human. They are almost here. The words didn't fade with time. They got sharper, like they were cutting through the silence inside him. Sometimes he thought he could almost hear breathing in the background. Not hers. Something else. On the last day before arrival, the Wren scanners finally caught it. Dot at first. It was just a blip. Faint. Then it grew into a shape. A massive dark silhouette drifting in deep space, blocking out the stars behind it. Mark leaned forward in his chair, eyes wide. Corey, tell me that's an asteroid. Negative, Corey replied. No natural formation matches its structure. It is a vessel. Estimated length? 3.2 kilometers. That's bigger than any human ship ever built. Affirmative. And there are faint power signatures inside. As they drew closer, the details became clear. Sharp edges, alien curves, surfaces like black glass. A hull was cracked in places, as if it had been torn apart and stitched back together. No lights, no beacons, just there, watching. Mark felt his skin crawl. It's like it's pretending to be dead. Corey didn't answer, which somehow made it worse. Docking was like approaching a sleeping predator. Every instinct told him to stay away, but every question in his head told him to get closer. The moment the Wren's clamps locked onto the alien hull, his comms lit up. Her voice. Closer now. You made it. Mark's mouth went dry. Okay, that's not creepy at all. This time, she didn't say anything else. Just silence. The airlock hissed open. A wave of cold rolled into the Wren. Not just cold in temperature, but the kind that seemed to settle in your bones. Mark stepped inside the alien ship. The corridors were tall and narrow, walls covered in strange patterns that almost moved if you looked too long. The floor hummed softly, like a distant heartbeat. No dust, no decay, no sign of time passing at all. Every so often, a faint flicker of light would run along the walls, as if the ship itself was watching him walk. Half an hour in, he found something. That made him stop dead. A human CRYO-pod dot. It was the only thing on the whole ship that looked like it didn't belong. The pod was sleek, white, and covered in frost. The nameplate was worn, but still readable. Captain Alice Rien. Inside, she lay still, her hair streaked with silver light that seemed to glow under the frost. Her skin was pale but unmarked, like she had been frozen yesterday, not centuries ago. Mark's hand hovered over the control panel. Corey's voice came through his earpiece. "Mark, scanners detect movement in the ship. Multiple sources. Closing in." His breath caught. "Define multiple. 8 life forms. Non-human." As if on cue, the ship's faint. Heartbeat grew louder. The walls vibrated. Lights along the corridor flickered, forming a slow, deliberate pulse. Mark turned back to the pod. The frost on the glass began to melt from inside. Her eyes opened, silver, cold, a little too sharp to be fully human. "You're late," she said, voice calm but carrying weight, like a person used to being obeyed. Mark's throat tightened. "I got stuck in traffic." She ignored the joke, glancing toward the corridor. "They found us." From somewhere deep in the ship came a sound, high-pitched, insect-like, and getting closer. Mark's pulse spiked. "Who are they?" She stepped out of the pod like she hadn't been frozen for centuries, moving with deliberate precision. "The ones who killed my crew. The ones who will kill you, unless you do exactly as I say." Her silver eyes locked on his. "You know what to do, human." The woman from before. The frost still clung to her eyelashes as Captain Alice Rien stepped out of the pod. No stumble, no confusion. No, where am I? Just a controlled breath, as if she had been standing there all along, waiting for him. Mark had no idea how to react. For 20 years, the only women he'd seen were in old vids and faded photos. Now here was one, not only real, but glowing, faintly in the dim light, and staring at him like he was a chess piece she'd been saving for the final move. The sound came again, that high-pitched, insect-like clicking, louder, closer. Mark's skin prickled. "What is that?" he whispered. Alice didn't look away from him. "Hunters." "Hunters of what?" Her gaze sharpened. "Everything." She crossed to the wall, pressing her palm against a panel. Alien symbols flared to life under her hand and obeyed her. The corridor lights shifted from cold blue to deep red. Somewhere in the ship, metal slammed shut, sealing doors. Mark blinked. "You can control this thing?" "I can control enough of it," she replied. "Come." He didn't argue. Following her down the corridor, Mark realized she moved like someone who knew every step before she took it. The hum of the ship grew louder, almost alert. The clicking followed them, echoing through the metal walls like claws on glass. They turned the corner, and the corridor ahead split into a massive chamber. In the center was something Mark couldn't even name, a pulsing column of dark matter, surrounded by rings that floated in midair, spinning silently. Every time one of the rings passed, the air tasted like electricity. Alice slowed. "This is why they are here." Mark stared. "What is it?" "A vault," she said simply. "Locked for 200 years. He glanced at her. "And you're the key?" Her eyes met his. "No, you are." Mark laughed nervously. "Yeah, no. I'm just a guy with a broken coffee maker." Her voice was sharp now, cutting through the hum. "You're not just anything. You were hidden. Varren, placed far from anyone who could use you." The air around them pulsed again, and for a split second, Mark swore the column's dark surface reflected his face, but older, harder, and standing next to her. Before he could speak, Corey's voice buzzed in his ear. "Movement detected. Multiple contacts entering this level. Hostiles will arrive in 73 seconds. Mark's stomach tightened. Yeah, I can hear them. The clicking had changed. It wasn't random anymore. It was in rhythm, like something communicating. Hunting in coordination. Ali stepped closer, lowering her voice, but not her intensity. If they take you, they will open this vault? And if they open it? She trailed off, looking at the spinning rings like she was staring at a weapon that wanted to be used. No one will stop them. Mark's instincts screamed at him to run back to the wren and blast away from this nightmare. But the way she was looking at him, not with hope, but certainty, made him feel trapped in something much bigger than his own survival. Then, from the shadows at the edge of the chamber, something moved. It was tall, too tall, with long, jointed limbs that clung to the walls like a spider. Its head tilted unnaturally, mandibles clicking in rapid bursts. More shadows shifted behind it, the glow of their glassy eyes reflecting the red light. The hunters had arrived. Ali's reached for something at her belt, a small, alien device that unfolded into a weapon with a hiss. She tossed a second one, too. Mark without looking. He fumbled, catching it just as the first hunter lunged forward. Why me? He shouted, heart hammering. Her voice was ice and fire in equal measure. Because, human, you're the only one left who can end this. The hunters arrived. The first hunter moved like liquid shadow. 1 second, it was clinging to the wall. The next, it was right in front of him. A blur of black limbs and clicking mandibles. Mark didn't think. He just squeezed the weapon Alice had thrown him. A sharp pulse of blue light shot out, slamming into the creature's chest. It shrieked, a sound that made Mark's teeth ache, then skittered back into the shadows. That's not dead, is it? He asked. No, Alice replied, eyes scanning the darkness. It's warning the others. The chamber lights flickered. Somewhere deep in the ship, a low thump echoed, like a giant heartbeat. Corey's voice crackled in Mark's earpiece. Warning, multiple hostiles converging. At least 12. 12? Mark hissed. What happened to 8? They brought friends, Corey said flatly. From the upper walls, shapes began to emerge. Tall, skeletal with armor that shimmered like wet stone. Their movements were silent, except for the clicks, fast, sharp bursts that bounced around the chamber like sonar. Alice grabbed Mark's arm and pulled him toward an exit tunnel. Move. Now. They ran, their footsteps echoing in the metallic corridor. Behind them, the clicks changed rhythm, faster now. Excited, the tunnel split into 3 directions. Alice didn't hesitate. She turned left, slapping her hand on another panel. The wall behind them sealed instantly, cutting off the sound of pursuit. Mark's chest heaved. Great. Now we're safe. No, she said. Now they'll come from ahead. As if on cue, 2 hunters dropped from the ceiling. Mark fired instinctively, hitting one in the leg. It crumpled, but didn't stop clicking. The sound faster now, almost frantic. The second hunter lunged, claws scraping the wall. As it came for him, Alice stepped in front, her weapon spitting 3 precise bursts. The creature's body spasmed, then fell limp. Its mandibles still twitched. They moved again, deeper into the alien ship. The corridors here were narrower, with walls that seemed to shift when you weren't looking directly at them. Mark's peripheral vision caught shapes moving inside the walls, like veins of shadow. Is the ship alive? He asked. Yes, Ali said without slowing. Do I want to know how? No. Corey cut in again. Mark, their path is closing. If you continue this route, you will be surrounded in 90 seconds. Suggestions? Mark panted. Die quickly, Corey replied. Mark glared at his wrist comb. You're terrible at morale. The clicking was all around them now. Above, below, in front, behind, It wasn't random anymore. It was coordinated, like a language designed to make prey panic. Then they saw the trap. The corridor ahead opened into another chamber, already filled with hunters. Their eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the dim red light. They didn't rush. They didn't need to. They were blocking every exit, but one, a narrow hatch to the right. Alice didn't hesitate. She fired a single shot into the ceiling above the hatch. The metal ruptured, spilling some kind of glowing fluid onto the floor. The hunters froze, mandibles clicking slower now. Mark didn't understand why, but he didn't care. They dove through the hatch. It sealed behind them with a hiss. Mark leaned against the wall, trying to catch his breath. "We can't keep running forever." "We won't," Alice said, her voice calm despite the chaos. "They're not here to kill you." "Not yet. That's supposed to make me feel better?" "No. It's supposed to make you understand that you matter more to them alive, which means they will come harder, faster." Her silver eyes locked onto his. "And if they get you, they'll open the vault. And that will be the end of more than just us." A distant boom shook the corridor. Dust fell from the ceiling. Corey's voice came again, this time sharper. "Mark, something else just entered the system. A ship, bigger than theirs, and it's coming straight for us." Alice's gaze darkened. Then we're out of time. Asterisk the truth about the message. The corridor shook again, harder this time. The Wren's status monitor on Mark's wrist lit up with red alerts, hull breaches on the alien ship, power fluctuations, rising heat signatures. Corey's voice was calm in a way that made it worse. "The incoming vessel will make contact in 2 minutes." "Friend or foe?" Mark asked. "I believe foe is the statistically obvious choice." Alice didn't slow her pace. She moved like someone who had been through this before. Too many times. Mark followed, weapon in hand, adrenaline still burning from the last fight. Finally, she stopped in front of a sealed door. Alien runes glowed faintly across it, shifting like they were alive. She pressed her palm against the surface. The runes reacted, forming a spiral pattern. "What is this?" Mark asked. "The place you were born for," she said. The door slid open without a sound. Inside was a chamber unlike any part of the ship they had seen. No dark corridors, no flickering lights. This was bright, clean, and almost human in design. The centerpiece was a tall, vertical column of glass filled with a swirling golden light. It hummed, not like machinery, but like breathing. Mark stepped closer. The light seemed to bend toward him, wrapping around his reflection. "What is that?" Alice's voice was low. "A weapon. One that can end civilizations in a single breath." He took a step back. "And this is where you keep it? In a glass tube?" She ignored the sarcasm. "It's been sealed for 200 years. I locked it myself." Mark frowned. "Wait, you locked it?" Her silver eyes met his. "Yes, but I couldn't destroy it. Only the key can do that. And let me guess. I'm the key." Alice nodded once. "Your DNA carries the final sequence, not by accident. You were hidden, placed in isolation, so the hunters would never find you. Delta 9 wasn't a punishment, Mark. It was a vault." Mark's head spun. "You're telling me my whole miserable life was—" "What? A security plan?" "Yes," she said simply. "You were the last safeguard. The one thing they couldn't." Touch. The clicking started again, faint, but rising fast. Alice's expression hardened. "They've found us." Mark pointed toward the column of light. "If this is a weapon, why not just destroy it right now?" Her voice sharpened. "Because it's not just a weapon. It's a choice. You can destroy it, or you can use it." Mark stared at her. "Use it for what?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped closer. "When I sent that message, I wasn't just calling for help. I was calling for judgment. The floor trembled. The door they came through hissed under pressure. Corey's voice cut in, urgent. Mark, there, breaching the chamber. And the other ship is now docking. We have multiple hostile forces inbound. Mark's gut twisted. 2 sides? Both after me? No, Allie's corrected. 2 sides after this. You're just the way to open it. The humming in the glass. Column grew louder, almost like it was aware of the danger. Threads of golden light inside it began to weave together, forming patterns that pulsed in time with Mark's heartbeat. Ollie's grabbed his arm. If they take you alive, Mark, it's over. The hunters will unlock the weapon and burn worlds until there's nothing left. If the other side takes you, they'll do the same in the name of peace. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And the truth is, I don't know which one would be worse. The door buckled inward, claws punching through the metal. The clicking became a roar of alien language. Allie's locked eyes with him, urgency blazing. It's your choice now. Destroy it or claim it. But you must decide before they get in. Mark's mouth went dry. You still haven't told me what to do. Her gaze didn't waver. No, human. I told you from the start. You already. No. Asterisk. You know what to do. Human, the chamber door buckled under the hunter's assault. Metal screaming as claws tore through it. Behind them, the golden light in the glass column swirled faster, as if sensing that time was running out. Mark's heart pounded. Allie stood in front of him, weapon drawn, eyes unblinking. Mark. Corey's voice crackled in his ear. I am obligated to inform you that the statistical chance of you surviving the next 60 seconds is... Corey. Mark snapped. Shut up. The door split open, shards of metal spinning across the floor. The hunters poured in, tall, skeletal, glistening with alien armor. Their clicks were deafening now, each one echoing off the chamber walls, but they didn't attack. They stopped, just short of the golden column, and stared at him. Mandibles opening and closing, slow and deliberate, like they were waiting. A deep vibration rolled through the floor as the other ship docked. Another door opened across the chamber, and figures in sleek black armor entered, human but cold, their visors glowing blue. Their weapons were aimed not at the hunters, but at him. Varren. A voice boomed through a comm amplifier. Step away from the artifact, now. The 2 sides didn't look at each other. Both were focused entirely on him. Allie's didn't move. She spoke just loud enough for him to hear. This is it. Destroy it, and neither side gets it. Activate it. And you choose who rules the galaxy. Mark's throat tightened. And what happens if I choose wrong? Her silver eyes were calm, unreadable. There are no right choices, human. Only the one you live with. The golden light was pulsing faster now, in perfect sync with his heartbeat. When he stepped closer, it reacted, threads of energy curling toward him like they were alive. When his hand hovered over the glass, the surface shimmered, becoming warm dot in the glow. Images flashed, burning worlds, fleets tearing each other apart, cities falling silent under the shadow of the hunters. And then, the same worlds rebuilt, peaceful, under a single banner. His DNA wasn't just a key. It was a command. Mark. The human soldier barked. Do it. We'll protect you. The lead hunter clicked loudly, the sound almost like words. The golden light shifted, showing a different future. The hunters scattering, fleeing into the dark. The galaxy untouched. 2 futures. 2 sides. Both promising survival, both promising control. Allie stepped beside him, her voice softer now. I didn't bring you here because I trusted you to make the right choice. I brought you here because I trusted you to make yours. The walls shook again. The humans advanced. The hunters tensed. The column of light sang in his head, a wordless pull that begged for an answer. Mark closed his eyes. For 20 years, he'd been a nobody, a forgotten miner on a forgotten rock. But here, now, every life in the galaxy balanced on his fingertips. He opened his eyes, and without another word, placed his palm on the glass. The golden light exploded outward, engulfing the chamber. Both humans and hunters froze, bathed in the same blinding radiance. The hum grew into a roar that wasn't sound at all. It was meaning. Commands written into the bones of reality. Mark felt the weapons will reach into him, offering power. He made his choice. When the light faded, the chamber was empty. The hunters were gone. The human soldiers were gone. Only he and Alice remained, standing in silence. Alice studied him. "You didn't destroy it." "No," he said quietly. "I didn't." Her silver eyes searched his face. "Then who did you give it to?" Mark looked toward the swirling column, now dark and still. "Not them, not you, not anyone who thinks they deserve it." Alice tilted her head. "Then who?" He gave a small, tired smile. "The galaxy will find out." Without another word, he turned and walked back toward the wren. Behind him, the chamber sealed itself, locking away the weapon once more. But now it was bound not to DNA, but to a single thought in his mind. Alice followed, and for the first time, her voice carried something almost like respect. "You know what to do, human." Mark smirked without looking back. "Guess I finally do."